My name is Michael Kha, and we're at Pho Lan Beef Noodle Soup Restaurant in Richmond, BC. For us Vietnamese, pho is actually a breakfast item. It's something that we start the day off with. There's different elements to a bowl of pho. First off is the broth. So we make a new broth every day. It begins with getting good quality beef bones. It's slicing the meat, grilling the onions, the carrots. For us at the restaurant, it takes about 6 to 8 hours from beginning to end to complete the broth. I'm not gonna say we're the best, but I think that our pho can hold its own. Then you have the noodles. We use rice noodles. There's different types of toppings that you can have. Tendon, tripe, meatballs, of course rare beef. A Vietnamese person would pronounce pho as pho, but if you don't speak Vietnamese correctly, just stick to calling it pho. That, to me, would be the correct answer. The restaurant opened in 1994. My mom and dad started the restaurant. Back then, there was only 4 Vietnamese restaurants in Richmond. We took over from a Ukrainian family that was selling pierogies here, and they had their shop for almost 25 years. When we first opened, we would get customers coming in, and the majority of them would notice that it's no longer a Ukrainian restaurant, and they would still sit down and give us a chance. Throughout the years, some of these people, they enjoyed the food here, and they ended up becoming longtime customers. When it comes to pho, I usually just recommend the special soup. That's the one that has everything. Here we're making a beef noodle soup. We start with the rice noodles and then the toppings. Well done beef, the rare steak slices. Next up is the tripe, which is also called unassuming. Then the garnish, cilantro, green onion, and white onion. My parents started the restaurant in 1994, but just to take a step back, we arrived in Canada in 1979. My father was a helicopter pilot in the South Vietnamese Army. So when the war ended, my father was already in North America upgrading his knowledge of helicopters. But my mother, brother, and myself, we were in southern Vietnam. And so we were separated from my father for about 2 years. My mother, she sold all her valuables and she paid for a spot on a boat to escape Vietnam. My father tried to contact us in Vietnam, but back then they didn't have fax, they don't have FaceTime. You can't make a phone call. Everything was just chaotic. After a year, my father pretty much gave up hope. But my auntie, who is based in Toronto, rode around to all the refugee camps in Southeast Asia. She lucked out and found us at a refugee camp in Singapore. And my father sponsored us from Singapore to Canada. My favorite is, of course, the spring rolls, the Vietnamese deep fried spring rolls. We have killer spring rolls. We use actually a salad roll wrapper. We also double fry or sometimes triple fry our spring rolls. It's not because we're trying to be unique. It's just that's the way my mother was taught to make her spring rolls growing up in the south of Vietnam. My mom runs the kitchen, and in the early days, she did everything humanly possible in the kitchen. From cooking, cleaning, prepping, ordering supplies, buying supplies, she did everything. We are now making a salad roll. Firstly, you dip the rice paper into hot water. With this salad roll, we're starting with shrimp. It's topped with bean sprouts. And then finally, we put in the vermicelli. Then you wrap it all up. And there you have it, a finished salad roll. My mom has not retired. She considers this restaurant as her third child. In 2003, my father was offered a job in financial services in Vietnam. My father advised my mom to sell the restaurant so she too could move to Vietnam. But my mother loves this restaurant and she would never sell it. My father likes guidelines and he's quite strict. And he applies that strictness to family, employees, and oddly enough, customers. There's a small group of people that love who he is and his and his personality, his character, a lot of people online refer to him as a faux Nazi or the soup kitchen guy. My dad semi-retired in 2009. I was studying in Australia, but my father asked me to come back and look after the restaurant then. So instead of living permanently in Australia, I came back to Richmond, BC to run the family restaurant. This restaurant is what it is because of the people that run it, but also because of the customers that come in through the doors. So throughout the years, I've made friends with many of them, and I've seen some of the young kids grow up, get married, have their own families, and now their kids come in. So we've enjoyed running the restaurant, and it's been a joy. The customers that have been coming here the longest, they've been eating at this restaurant every Saturday and Sunday for the last 24 years. And they're actually sitting right there, the last table, the 2 cars. Yeah. So they have ate at the restaurant over 2,400 times.
Wow, that's probably more than me.
Well, it's almost more than me.